A standing ovation wherever you go. People just stand up.
Thank
They
you.
have to. You're the greatest. Thank you for coming on my show.
Oh, listen, I told you when I saw you at the event that I did at the...
For decades, Sir Elton John has been the personification of showmanship, soul, and spectacle. From his jewel-encrusted glasses to his stadium-shaking piano riffs, the Rocket Man has built a career on extravagant honesty and courageous performance. But underneath the glitter and big finales comes a man who is best known for one thing: he never bites his tongue. And now, as he approaches the end of his storied career, he has decided to tell the public what many in the profession have only whispered. He flatly refused to play with certain musicians. "Life's too short to fake chemistry," Elton recently said in a private chat that has since surfaced. "I have shared stages with legends, but I have also avoided a few who I would never let near my piano again." He did not mention these artists in a PR-approved memoir or a sanitized Netflix film. No, this was in typical Elton fashion: direct, spontaneous, and completely explosive. Within days of those words being circulated online, music forums, social media, and entertainment websites were ablaze with speculation. Was it about prior feuds, creative betrayal, or are these merely personal boundaries established after decades of drama, ego, and unmet expectations? As the names began to appear, from pop icons to rock gods, one thing became clear: this was not a hit piece. This was a reckoning. Because for Elton, performing on stage means more than simply vocals and lighting signals. It is about trust and respect, and as he puts it, not having to look sideways and wonder if I am being mocked, mimicked, or minimized. These were not one-off arguments. Lines were crossed, bridges were torched, choices were made. And now, in what some call his last great confession, the Rocket Man has struck the ultimate chord. These are the 5 musicians Elton John refused to perform with, and why. 1. The pop queen who lip-synced through her career, Madonna. If there is one pop cultural quarrel that has not died down, it is Elton John versus Madonna. It is not only about music, it is about legacy, ego, and 2 megastars who have never learnt to share the stage. And when asked lately about singers with whom he would never share the stage, Elton John did not hesitate. Madonna? Never. Absolutely not. I have sung live my entire career. I do not duet with lip syncers. That quotation is not from the 1990s. It is dated 2024. Let us rewind. Their beef dates back decades. When Madonna won the Golden Globe for Best Original Song for Masterpiece in the early 2000s, defeating Elton John's Hello Hello from Romeo and Juliet, he went nuclear. Madonna, Best Original Song? Give me a F*******ing break, he grumbled. She does not even sing live. The jab did not occur during a secret meal or in a carefully worded interview. It emerged from the red carpet. Cameras are rolling. Reporters were startled. "That award should have gone to a real singer," he said. "Somebody who actually performs." The animosity gradually worsened. Madonna was reportedly enraged behind closed doors. She privately referred to Elton as a bitter queen and reportedly told her crew to never seat me near him at any event, ever. In public, she remained fairly silent, tossing the occasional subtle dig. What about Elton? He kept the flame blazing. In 2012, when Madonna was preparing for her Super Bowl halftime show, Elton ripped into her presentation technique yet again. "If you are going to do a Super Bowl show, try singing live, sweetheart," he stated in an interview. "People deserve better than a circus act wearing fishnets." That statement sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Madonna's admirers, known as the Madonna Army, went after Elton online, accusing him of misogyny, envy, and adhering to archaic ideals. But his admirers responded, "He said what everyone has been thinking for years. What is the truth?" It was not only about microphones and vocal cords. Elton had artistic disagreements. He witnessed Madonna's rise, her incessant rebranding, her strategic image pivots, and it all felt artificial. Whereas he considered music as a sacred, vulnerable act, he assumed Madonna saw it as marketing. He once told a buddy that she is more interested in reinvention than reflection. I write from my gut. She writes from the boardroom. Nonetheless, supporters and insiders thought that time would mend the gap. When Madonna announced her celebration tour, people thought that Elton may make an unexpected appearance at a London show. But according to someone close to Elton's team, he laughed. I literally laughed and responded, "She made her bed. I will not be a part of her circus." There was one last twist in 2023. Madonna praised Elton during a concert, calling him one of the few men in this industry who stayed true to himself, even if he hates me, in an apparent attempt to reconcile. The crowd let up a yell. The internet disputed whether that was shade, sincerity, a step towards reconciliation. Elton did not answer directly, but days later, during a radio discussion about legacy musicians, he dropped a phrase that seemed anything but coincidence. There is a difference between being iconic and simply being famous for not leaving the stage. Cold, brutal, and unmistakably directed at Madonna. In the leaked conversation that sparked this latest tempest, Elton specified the 5 musicians he refused to perform with, and Madonna was at the top of the list. "It is not personal. It is artistic," he reportedly stated. "I have standards. I do not refer to pre-recorded recordings as live music. To date, there has been no joint performance, no duet, not even a shared charity stage. Because for Elton, the division is about more than just speech. It is also about integrity. When I walk on stage, I bring everything. My voice, my soul, my story. I cannot perform next to someone who has spent her entire career miming her way to success. Ouch! Madonna may still conquer venues. However, she will never share one with Elton John. Not now, not ever." 2. The legend he once loved, George Michael. Few names have had greater weight and pain for Elton John than George Michael, whether on stage, backstage, in loss, or in glory. They were not just collaborators, more than buddies. They were once spiritual twins, 2 LGBT celebrities navigating superstardom in a world that honored their voices while silencing their sensitivity. They sang, laughed, and wept together. And then, according to Elton, they stopped talking. "George had one of the best voices I would ever heard," Elton once said. "In the end, we could not even look each other in the eyes." So, what happened? To the public, their bond appeared unshakable. Their iconic 1991 duet, "Do Not Let the Sun Go Down on Me," became an immediate hit, topping the charts and revitalizing George's solo career. Elton described the performance as spiritual, and George once stated Elton saved him from fading out of relevance. Fans were unaware that animosity was developing behind the scenes. By the late 1990s, George Michael was in mental and legal turmoil. After being arrested for obscene behavior in a Beverly Hills public lavatory in 1998, he became the object of media brutality and tabloid scorn. Elton openly supported him, but George believed it was in all the wrong ways. "Elton treated me like a project," George later revealed in an interview, "like someone he could repair." Elton, who was completely committed to sobriety and recovery, encouraged George to join rehab, repeatedly, publicly, and George did not take it well. "I did not need saving," George exclaimed in 2004. "I needed support, not sermons." The conflict escalated in the early 2000s. George accuses Elton of meddling. Elton accused George of denial. Their once warm correspondence ceased abruptly. Invitations to play together, including major AIDS fundraisers and global tribute concerts, were either declined or ignored. Elton, a longtime supporter of the LGBTQ+ community and a strong advocate for mental health, claims he was devastated by George's rejection to reconnect. "I was not trying to shame him," Elton admitted years later. "I just did not want to lose him." However, the divide widened. Several event organizers, including those behind Live 8, the 2005 mega concert for global poverty relief, reportedly attempted to reunite the two legends. The notion was perfect. Elton and George reunited for a subject they both cared about. George declined. A source close to the project informed The Guardian. George replied, "I will do it with anyone except Elton. I do not need another lecture." Even in 2011, when George was in critical condition with pneumonia, Elton's team rallied around him. However, people close to George described his reaction as chilly at best. "Tell him I am still breathing. That is all he needs to know." The most agonizing moment occurred following George's terrible death on Christmas Day, 2016. Fans expected Elton to attend the burial. He did not. "I mourned him in private," Elton subsequently revealed. "I was not invited. I was not wanted. That was the last message." Nonetheless, Elton sang "Do Not Let the Sun Go Down on Me" in honor, crying up on stage during his Las Vegas residency. Even then, fans could feel the anguish and regret. So why did Elton include George Michael among the singers he refused to perform with? Because, he argues, declining to perform with someone does not always stem from hatred. Sometimes it stems from heartbreak. "I could not perform with George during those final years," Elton admitted. "Not because I did not want to, but because I could not recognize the man I used to love." He continues, "He shoved them aside. He pushed me away. I accepted every invitation. But when the call came, he always said no." According to industry insiders, Elton was approached multiple times in the 2000s about joining George for special duets, tribute albums, or even appearing on stage during Pride Month performances. Every time, Elton declined, but only after George made it plain that the invitation would never arrive. "It is difficult to stand next to someone who once stood beside you and now pretends you do not exist," Elton explained. Elton is not throwing shade when he names George Michael as one of the 5 artists he refuses to perform with. He acknowledges his pain, the kind that was never resolved. "There was a time when I thought we would grow old together," Elton revealed in a recent interview. "Two old queens in caftans, sipping tea and laughing at the madness. But life has different plans." He paused. "I miss him. I really do. However, I declined to perform with him over those years because I did not want to lie, and he did not want the truth." In the end, Elton did not only lose a collaborator, he has lost a brother, and the quiet between them, both on stage and off, became the most haunting performance they never gave. 3. The rock star. He called a cranky old dinosaur, Keith Richards. Elton John and Keith Richards are among the most well-known names in British rock. Despite their shared stage history, mutual popularity, and godlike stature in the pantheon of 20th century music, one thing is plainly clear. These two legends cannot stand each other. Their feud is not over a single explosive occurrence. It is death by 1,000 sarcastic cuts, slow, passive-aggressive, and very, very British. And it all started, like many rock rivalries, with a few ill-chosen words and a mountain of ego. Let us return to 1988. Keith Richards, who is not known for being subtle, delivered an interview in which he blasted Elton John's flashy approach as more Las Vegas than London, calling his music sentimental showbiz schlock and criticizing his outfits. "I cannot take a man in platform boots and feather boas seriously," Richards remarked. "It is cabaret, not rock and roll." Elton naturally did not let it go. He retaliated in a broadcast appearance 2 weeks later, calling Richards a cranky old dinosaur clinging to riffs from 1968, believing they still sound dangerous. The battle of words did not end there. Over the next 2 decades, the digs became a ritual. Keith would casually call Elton Madame, while Elton, never shy of a comeback, referred to the Stones' guitarist as a walking pharmacy that has not had a new concept since Jumpin' Jack Flash. Ouch. However, unlike most feuds, theirs continued to boil. Multiple concert organizers attempted to get them together, including charity galas, award events, and international festivals. And whenever Elton was asked about sharing the stage with Richards, his response was quick and simple. "No thank you. I like the melody of muttering." What is with the irony? Despite their mutual dislike, they were frequently scheduled for the same events, including Live Aid, Prince's Trust concerts, and various Rock Hall anniversary tributes. But they made a point of avoiding each other backstage. One insider recalls a 2004 occasion where both were supposed to appear. When Elton heard Richards had entered the green room, he reportedly turned to his manager and said, "Tell me when the pirate departs. I will come out then." It was not only a conflict of personalities, it was a conflict of artistic identities. Elton saw himself as a composer, a performer, someone who combined rock with heart and grace. Richards? He was the snarling bluesman, the filthy riff monarch who thought ballads were wimpy and stagecraft was weak. Elton wears sequins to sing love songs. Richards reportedly jokes, "I wear black while I play guitar." We do not share the same religion. Even during their Cold War, there were hints of near collaboration, particularly during simultaneous performances at award events or tributes to shared friends such as Eric Clapton and David Bowie. But every time a reunion was proposed, Elton turned it down. "I am not interested in musical détentes," he once stated. "We are both still breathing, but that does not mean we should share the same air." Their animosity reached a weird climax at a 2016 Rolling Stone magazine quanda, in which Elton was asked, half-jokingly, who he would most like to collaborate with, and least. His response? Most? Gaga? Least? Keith Richard. "He is the only guy who makes me miss Noel Gallagher's manners." Brutal. To be clear, this is not a conflict motivated by betrayal or scandal. It is not very personal. It is pure, refined contempt. Elton admires Keith's legacy but regards him as frozen in time. Keith, on the other hand, sees Elton as a costume party that went on too long. So, when asked in that now infamous leaked chat which artists he would never perform with, not even for charity or royalty, Elton gave a short list. "Keith Richards," he answered, "and that is it. I would rather duet in silence." There is no drama. There were no tears. Just decades of reciprocal eye rolls established their stardom. What if you asked either of them about it today? They will most likely provide a grin, a glass of something aged, and a jab worthy of rock and roll's petty Cold War. 4. The singer who crossed the line, Axl Rose. Elton John has shared the stage alongside rock's biggest artists, including Queen, The Who, Lady Gaga, and Eminem. But there is one name he would never want next to his piano again, Axl Rose. "He is brilliant," Elton once acknowledged. However, brilliance without empathy is dangerous. It is a difficult connection that surprised everyone when it started as a friendship. Yes, friendship. Elton John and Axl Rose startled everyone in 1992 when they performed together at Freddie Mercury's tribute event at Wembley Stadium. Elton, the pop rock icon. Axl is the snarling voice of Guns N' Roses. On paper, they could not be any more different, but something clicked on stage when they performed Bohemian Rhapsody together. The crowd let up a yell. The energy was electrical. "I thought it would be disastrous," Elton subsequently admitted. But was he gracious, respectful, and honest? Great. That performance inspired an unexpected mutual admiration. Elton complimented Axl's vocal range. Axl described Elton as a true icon who does not fake it. For a brief period, it appeared that the industry's weirdest duo had found a delicate artistic affinity. But suddenly, everything came apart. The turning point, Axl's words, his lyrics, his quietness. Throughout the early 1990s, Guns N' Roses faced increasing criticism for the homophobic and racist lyrics in their songs, particularly "One in a Million," which contained slurs aimed at multiple communities, including LGBTQ+ individuals. Elton, who had spent years campaigning for LGBTQ+ rights and establishing HIV/AIDS charities, was taken aback. "I gave him a chance," Elton explained. "I thought he was growing, but those lyrics, and his inability to even apologize for them, went too far." Even as the reaction increased, Axl remained stubborn. In interviews, he doubled back, arguing that he was simply expressing himself and not advocating hatred. That was not just careless, Elton admitted in a 1999 interview. That was cowardly. "And when you hurt the community I love and fight for, we are finished." Behind the scenes, Elton reportedly attempted to contact Axl, urging him to confront the matter head-on. He wanted a statement, a gesture, anything that acknowledged the grief the songs had caused. But Axl never replied. Instead, Guns N' Roses spiraled deeper into chaos, with riots, tour breakdowns, and a public image so volatile that even their industry allies began to distance themselves. Elton? He severed ties totally. "You only have one stage with me," he observed years later. "If you disrespect that stage, you will never share it again." But perhaps the most brutal blow came in 2004, when Elton was asked if he would ever work with Axl Rose again. What was his reply? "I would rather duet with a broken amplifier." Despite this, industry insiders attempted to bring them back together over time. When Guns N' Roses announced their Not in This Lifetime reunion tour in 2016, organizers suggested a surprise duet at one of the Los Angeles shows. Dates. Elton was reportedly approached about joining them for a charity performance. He declined immediately. "I will not stand by someone who has never stood up for what is right," he told a close friend. "That is not music. That is complicity." The refusal was not personal, Elton insists. It was ethical. Talent does not excuse cruelty. Stage presence does not compensate for silence in the face of bigotry. I learned that the hard way. In recent years, Axl has softened his public image. He has apologized for his previous behavior in vague terms. He has even performed with AC/DC and worked with artists outside of his genre. What about Elton? Still unmoved. "It is not about if he has changed," Elton stated in a 2020 interview. "The question is whether he ever cared in the first place." Elton finds that unforgivable. What distinguishes this refusal from the others is the level of disappointment. Madonna's feud was artistic. Keith Richards was all about ego. With Axl, it was betrayal, Elton explains, of my trust, community, and decency. For a man who has headlined thousands of shows and stood shoulder to shoulder with legends, Elton makes one point clear. If you want to be in the spotlight, earn it. Do not drag it through the mud and expect me to stand by you. And with that, Axl Rose joins the ranks of rock's most divisive icons, as well as one of Elton John's most emphatic no's.